Focus on making yourself rich instead of making yourself look rich for other people, and always try to remember that rich means so many different things to so many different people. Some people, if they have 50,000 a year, they're rich. For other people is 100,000, 300,000, 500,000, 1 million, and all of that depends on where you live, depends on your lifestyle, your aspirations, what is it that you want to do, or what is it that you think you want to do. Because trust me when I'm telling you, you don't need to be making 1 million every year or even 500,000 every year to be living a very comfortable, above average kind of life. So just take that pressure off yourself and just focus on paying yourself first and becoming rich instead of looking rich. Unfortunately, it is no secret that more and more people nowadays are struggling with their finances, and especially young people in their 20s. They are unable to gain somewhat of a financial freedom. They end up accumulating loads of debt and loads of stress. And obviously I am not an expert, but I thought in today's video, from one 20-year-old to another, I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a perspective when it comes to money and present to you several money habits that keep you broke and unhappy. Money habit number 1, living above or equally to your means. Now, I know this kind of sounds simplistic, but please stay with me because this is such a major one. Especially when we're in our 20s, the probable lack of actual big financial responsibilities like having kids and mouths to feed and mortgages and so on and so forth, combined with the way that we perceive youth, creates this sort of illusion that now is the time to enjoy life and indulge and, have fun and be careless and free, which I absolutely get it. But what that ends up creating is an entire generation of people who either spend more than they have, for example, by using credit cards and just accumulating loads and loads of debts on their credit cards to pay for things that they don't actually need, or people who just spend everything that they make. Believe me when I'm telling you that both habits are a one-way road to remaining broke for the rest of your life. The reason being that for as long as you don't have money left at the end of the month, be it $50, $500, $5,000, whatever that is, then this means you don't have money to invest. And specifically, you don't have money to invest and make profit from that investment, and profit that relies on compound interest. So I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on and explain the whole investing thing. But what I want you to remember and summarize from this money habit number 1 is that you need to absolutely put money aside every single month. And I would even go as far and say, not just put money, but put the maximum amount that you can. Now, you might be thinking that, okay, how am I going to do that? Because I'm already not making enough as it is, and so on and so forth. And that might be the case for some people, but I honestly believe that majority of people can save up anywhere between $50 to $100 every single month, like minimum, by simply downgrading their lifestyle, aka refusing some drinks or some restaurants, or not doing unneeded shopping, or just budgeting better for the actual expenses that you're having every single month. And speaking of budgeting, this just ties perfectly with money habit number 2 that is so specific to people in their 20s. And personally, I was also super guilty of this one. And this is to not know where your money's going, like not observing money and not trying to economize on the small things. Personally, as I said, I was super guilty of this one, and when I changed it, I also saw an enormous difference in the amount of money I could save up at the end of the month. And basically what that refers to is, when your grandmother, when she goes to the supermarket, she always tries to get, the toilet paper that has some sort of reduction that day, or, she uses those loyalty coupons to buy things, or before buying any sort of product or service, they would, like, older people, they would literally, compare the different offers, or see what's the advantages and disadvantages, and just try to get the best thing, like the best value for money. I believe this is the habit that was so heavily not passed on to our generation, because we are so used to instant gratification. We just have this kind of mindset that we say, okay, I want it now, so I'm just gonna go get it. Or when it comes to things like the supermarket, we just end up thinking that, a dollar or like 30 cents or something like that will make an actual difference. And oh my God, it is so wrong. This type of mentality, combined with the fact that in our generation, we just have so many subscriptions like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Spotify and YouTube and that streaming platform that we use, I don't know, once a month. All of these expenses, they just end up adding up to such a big amount if you look at it like at the end of the month or at the end of the year. And I just want you to keep in mind that if you manage to economize $1,000 at the end of the year, you might be thinking that $1,000 is not life-changing. And while $1,000 is not life-changing, $1,000 invested every single year can be pretty close to life-changing. So I definitely encourage you, first step would be to actually take a very close look to all of your subscriptions and all of your recurring payments that you have every single month, and just evaluate if you're actually using that thing, if you actually need that subscription or that sort of box that you're getting every single month for some sort of product that you don't even use anymore. And if you're actually still using the subscription that you're actually paying for, trying to see if you can minimize that cost by, for example, sharing a subscription with your family or with a friend or with somebody you know, or try to see if there's a better package that you can actually use. And then when it comes to like things like the supermarket, please be more like your grandmother. Start going for the things that are discounted. Compare the prices between the products before you actually buy them. Try to see when you need a specific service, try comparing the price of the service between different providers. Don't just go for something because it's just right there in front of your eyes and you just feel like, oh, it's easier, like I don't need to take all this time to think on it, and so on and so forth. And just to be more specific, if you don't believe me what huge of a difference that can actually make, I'll give you a very personal example. So I personally live in Switzerland, and in Switzerland we have 5 big supermarkets, right? So for a family of 2, for like 2 people, if you do all of your groceries in the 2 biggest supermarkets, you can end up paying all the way to like $500 a month for groceries, compared to going to the supermarket, the other 3 supermarkets that are not, the 2 big ones. They're still big, but they're just different ones. So if you go to the 3 other ones, you can spend like $250 for your groceries for 2 people by buying exactly the same type of product, not the same brand necessarily, but the same products. And to me, $250, I mean, you do the math, but it's just an enormous amount of money saved up at the end of the month and at the end of the year. Money habit number 3 is not knowing your exact spending earning ratio. So if you ask the majority of young people in the 20s, how much exactly are they spending every single month and the exact number of money that they're currently having on their bank account, nobody knows the exact answer. Like everyone knows approximately like what's their spending earning ratio, but they don't know what is the actual ratio. And that's problematic because if you don't know how much money you're spending and how much money you have, then you can never economize. Because when it comes to purchasing decisions, your decisions are always sort of speculative, and trust me, it doesn't help at all when you want to economize and then later on invest. So my personal advice for tackling this problem would be to create a list where you just put all of your fixed expenses, and your fixed expenses is basically your rent, your car payment if you have one, and then your bills like electricity, your health insurance, and any sort of recurring debt payment that you might be having. If not, then even better. Once you have that money out, once you have that exact number in your head of what money you need to be paying exactly month in, month out, because these are your fixed expenses, then you're going to take the rest of the money and you're going to divide it in 3 different categories by the presented order. So category number 1 is your variable expenses, and that basically means your supermarket and your gas if you have a car. So you put that money aside. That is a little bit speculative in terms of like how you calculate how much money you need to be having. Stay reasonable. You don't need to starve yourself, but don't just allocate an excessive amount of budget for that. Just be reasonable, put that money aside. Second category would be the you money, and the you money is not the fun money. I hate to break it to you, But what you need to be doing, and you've probably heard of this rule before, is to pay yourself first. You need to be making yourself rich before you make other people rich, which means that your second category is money that you set aside in order to invest them. Now, ideally, the you money should be one part invested and one part you keep them in a savings account. But if you don't have enough money to do both, then I would personally recommend to invest them. Once again, do your own research, but that's just my personal advice. And then the third money is the fun money, and is basically whatever is left after you deduct the first two categories. And it is basically the money that you can use to have fun, to go to restaurants, to do shopping, or whatever other like social or fun activity you're planning to do for that month. Money habit number 4 is basically not having a money cushion. So a lot of insecurity that is created, especially in our 20s, comes from the fact that living paycheck to paycheck creates this sort of stress that if something happens, for example, you get laid off or you get fired or there is a medical problem and you need money as ASAP, you don't have that kind of money. So you're just always scared to death about what you're going to do if just you need money now. So insert solution. What you need to do is remember how I talked about the second pillar of money that you need to be having, and that's the you money, where you need to invest that money. Before you reach the point of investing your you money, you need to keep on the side your expenses for anywhere between 3 to 6 months. And by your expenses, I mean all of your fixed expenses, as we talked about, for example, your rent, your bills, health insurance, and all that kind of stuff. And your variable expenses, which is your supermarket and your gas if you have a car. So you just keep that money on the side, you create some sort of like mini trust fund for yourself. And this way you have peace of mind that if something happens, your boss just doesn't like you anymore, or you have some sort of problem and you just need the money now, you have that kind of money, and therefore you can make more logical decisions and you can feel less stressed when it comes to money management and allocating your money. So once you create that money cushion where you have the money that you will be needing for anywhere between 3 to 6 months, you set this money aside and then you start using the you money for investing, or if your income allows it, then for investing and saving in a savings account. And this whole insecurity about getting laid off brings me to money habit number 5, and that is overly relying on your primary source of income. Now, I know everybody's talking about these side hustles that can make you $5,000 a month, like quickly and easily and all that. And personally, I don't believe this is true. From my experience, it is not easy to make $5,000 a month from something that is quick and side, but you can definitely make some extra money by having side activities. Those activities could be freelancing in your domain, creating digital products, creating a YouTube channel, learning options trading, or maybe just working a few hours at your local cafe during the weekend. Now, side hustles can make you anywhere between a little bit of money all the way to I quit my 9-to-5 job kind of money, depending on your actual skill set, the domain, and the time effort you actually put on that side hustle. But the idea here is not to make the big money, but more of just not overly relying on one stream of income, and secondly, just making more money or having more money left at the end of the month so you can actually invest that money. Okay, so now you have heard me say the word investing, invest like a million times. So money habit number 6 is not investing. So most people in the 20s, I think they do not invest their money because either they don't know how to do it, or 2, because they think they need $100,000 in order to make an investment that is worth it. And that just couldn't be further from the truth. So let me debunk this whole investment sort of concept. So in general, there are different types of investments, and I'm not going to go into details in this video, but I'm just going to present you with the overall idea so you can maybe start doing some more research into how you could invest your money. So there is the first category that is not very feasible for people in the 20s if you do not have capital, because if you do have capital, then it's absolutely feasible. But if you do not have capital, then it's a little bit more difficult. That first category is investing in a money-making asset like a rental property. The idea with real estate, and especially with rental properties, is that it's a cash flow investment that builds equity over time, appreciates over time, and you also have several benefits when it comes to deducting money from your taxes. but it is a long run project in order to see considerable profit. And by long run, I mean several decades. Now we have two more categories, and that would be speculative investing, and that refers to activities like day trading or cryptocurrencies, and then actual investing, which is, for example, investing in the stock market. To be very, very clear, there is an amount of speculation in any type of investing, but the difference between, let's say, speculative investing and investing in the stock market, especially the way I'm going to present to you right after, is the amount of risk that is involved and the amount of volatility in the investments. Now, I have mentioned many, many times that I cannot tell you exactly where to invest or how much to invest because it is actually illegal. But for example, if you are interested in investing in cryptocurrencies, there are so many videos and blog posts on the internet about how to create an account in an exchange platform and how to start buying cryptocurrencies. Now, when it comes to investing in crypto, you can invest $1 or as much as you want, really. Obviously, the more amount of money you invest, the more likely you are to see considerable benefit. But that doesn't mean you need to suddenly invest all of your savings in crypto because you're so sure that you're going to make a lot of money, because it doesn't work exactly like that. That being said, you also need to consider how much risk you want to be taking. For example, and I repeat, do your research, but for example, if you invest in a very well-established cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and your strategy is to reap the benefits of consistent investing in like 10 to 15 years, then the risk you are taking is most likely way less compared to buying and selling crypto that is just trending at the given moment. Overall, my advice would always be, when it comes to investing, to look at the long-term strategy and not how to make money in the next month or in the next year. Even though it is possible to make fast money with crypto, in some cases, if the geopolitical and geoeconomic situation helps, and if you make smart and sane buying and selling decisions. That being said, don't gamble, do your research before you invest on any type of cryptocurrency or any sort of other investment. Category number 2, when it comes to investing in the stock market, you can either invest on individual stocks or you can invest in an ETF like the S&P 500. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. And if you're a beginner, I would personally definitely recommend to go for a well-established ETF like the S&P 500 that I mentioned before, or other ones if you do your research, because if you're a beginner, then you don't really understand how the market works. You don't have sufficient information about the individual companies that you're buying stocks from. So I would say that is a lot riskier compared, in general, it could be a lot riskier compared to investing in a well-established ETF. For the sake of understanding a little bit how you can make money from investing, if we take the example of the S&P 500, the average annualized return between 2003 and 2023 for the S&P 500 has been a little bit over 10%. So if we take that as, let's say, a speculation for the future annualized returns, if you invest $500 every month in the S&P 500, then after 30 years, having invested $180,000 in total, you would have made a little bit over $1 million. And all of that, it's thanks to the power of compound interest. Now, I do want to say that investing is not the kind of activity that makes you rich fast. So if that's the sort of idea you have in your head, then you just need to get it out of your head. But it is a type of activity that, when done properly and after, getting your information and your research right, it is the type of activity that protects you from losing money due to inflation. And it is also amazing because it makes your money work for you, in the sense that you make money without exchanging your time to make that money. You make money from your own money, if that makes sense. And finally, money habit number 7 would be the whole trying to keep up with the Joneses. I wholeheartedly believe that we can win the generational award for FOMO, for just wanting to do what everybody else does, for wanting to have what is trending, for wanting to go to the it place, for wanting to prove to other people that we have X lifestyle, because that somehow makes us worthy individuals. I don't know how we got to this point, but I need you to get this whole game out of your head. Even though personally my social media is placed on the luxury niche, I don't care at all what other people think of my lifestyle. If somebody has more than me, if somebody has less than me, if I am trending enough, or like if I'm doing what's the it thing to do right now. And I do know that it's easy for me to say it because I already have a lifestyle that is above average. But at the same time, I want you to understand that I have this lifestyle and I still live way below my means, which should be your number one priority. Trust me when I'm telling you, you are not missing out on much. You don't need that thing that you think you're gonna die if you don't have it, because that thing in a year from now is gonna hold absolutely no significance to you. And 1 year is literally an overstatement. Focus on making yourself rich instead of making yourself look rich for other people. And always try to remember that rich means so many different things to so many different people. Some people, if they have 50,000 a year, they're rich. For other people is 100,000, 300,000, 500,000, 1 million. And all of that depends on where you live, depends on your lifestyle, your aspirations, what is it that you want to do, or what is it that you think you want to do. Because trust me when I'm telling you, you don't need to be making 1 million every year or even 500,000 every year to be living a very comfortable, above average kind of life. So just take that pressure off yourself and just focus on paying yourself first and becoming rich instead of looking rich. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was actually useful. And if it was, please don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment, as it really helps the algorithm understand that this is a valuable video. As per usual, you will find all of my links and all of my resources in the description box below. And without being said, thank you so much for watching and I will see you again in my next video.